I'm going to keep this as to the point and as brief as possible so that you can just focus on the essentials. The one thing that you're going to find about WebinarJam is that it is an extremely intuitive tool. And the way they've laid it out is that you can literally follow it along step by step. The options in terms of how you can start are pretty limited, which is great because you don't have to think about all the different things that you might have to do or might not have to do, okay? Now, here I am logged into my WebinarJam account, and I'm under the Quick Start tab right here at the top. And what I want you to notice is that you have this in your account as well. And I want you to watch this after you're done watching this video with me. The reason is, or if you want to pause it now, go into your account and watch it. The reason is because WebinarJam does a really great job of providing a really helpful and useful short, quick start tutorial. But then also, I want you to notice that up here in the training tab, they provide a lot of awesome training insights on how to be able to do everything that you need to do from start to finish. So if you ever run into technical issues, WebinarJam provides you a great training library. And then also in the Quick Start video, they show you how to access support if you need it. And they are incredibly good at providing good customer support, okay? Now, with that said, I'm going to go over here to my next tab, click on my webinars. Now, these right here, my webinar to the world and Royale with cheese, are just two funky webinar tests that I've set up so you can see what it would look like once you have some webinars scheduled, okay? So this is where you're going to see any webinars that you have already scheduled that are upcoming. You would go to the My Webinars tab to see that, okay? To create a new webinar, you're going to go and click on the tab right here that says New Webinar. And WebinarJam is going to give you two different options, Express Configuration and Full Configuration. Now, for most of you, and especially for your first time around, what you should go with is Express Configuration, okay? You'll click on that, and what WebinarJam does for you from this point forward is myself, and I'm just going to take you through the steps so you can see just how easy it is. So you would put in your webinar name here, how to sell your home for top dollar, or whatever your title for it is. Now, I'm going to put in like this. You may want to change a different name. Maybe you're doing it for a specific neighborhood because this first name right here is only for what you see inside your WebinarJam account. So if you're going to have multiple webinars hosted, you might want different names for it. So I might say, you know, how to sell your home for top dollar, Kenwood. Let's say I'm focusing this on the Kenwood area, okay? Now the actual webinar, the next thing you're going to type in here next is you're going to type in what the actual webinar title would be that people, attendees, and registrants would see when they get to your landing page or when they're registering for the webinar. Okay, so how to sell your Kenwood home for top dollar. And here on the next page, you're going to put in your webinar description, right? Learn how to sell your Kenwood home for top dollar without making 7 common costly mistakes that leave equity on the table. And the maximum that's allowed here in WebinarJam, unlike with other webinar platforms, you're kind of limited to what you can put in the description, maximum 150 characters, but that's okay. You'll leave the language English. You're going to go over here. You would just simply click on edit to add your photo, okay? You would simply click on the photo icon, and then you would upload your photo that you would want to use of yourself to the presenters tab, or the presenters area, okay? And you click save. Now what you do next, once you're done filling in this area, is you click confirm, the big green button. WebinarJam thinks for a second, and it asks you the next question. Are you doing the webinar right now, or are you scheduling it into the future? You're obviously most likely scheduling it into the future. So you click on schedule it. And like I said, this tool is very, very simple to use and very intuitive, which is one of the reasons why I absolutely love it, especially for anybody who's beginning starting with webinars. So then you simply click on the calendar box, what date. Let's say you want to do it on Thursday the 10th. Select a time. Let's say you want to do it at 7 p.m. All right, and then you select the time zone, put in the time zone that you're in, and then here's the important part. You got to click add. Just because you entered in all this information, it doesn't mean that it's actually yet been updated. You got to click add. And so now this has been added. Now what you could do if you wanted to is you could schedule another session for this webinar, exact same webinar, at another date and time if you wanted to, like a series. And then to delete any of them, you come here and click delete. I'm going to leave it the way it is here now. And then again, you click the green button, confirm. And WebinarJam takes you to the next step. Now the next step is to figure out what registration page you would like to use, okay? It auto-selects this page here all the time by default. And if you want to use another page, then you would simply select that page, whatever it may be. So let's say that I want to use a different page, and I want to use this one. Okay, well, I'll click Customize. And it opens up the landing page tool, okay? So I already preloaded some of the content here for you. WebinarJam automatically always includes a countdown timer on your webinar page from whatever time you put in for the webinar. Now these dates right here that you see where it says not editable, don't worry about that. These are just dummy dates. They're mock dates right now in the template. They don't reflect the dates that you actually put in. When you publish this page, the dates will be all accurate, okay? Now, if you want, for the part, so sometimes when you put your mouse over something, it'll give you where it's not editable. You can't edit that. For other things, like this button here, you can edit it. The way WebinarJam is set up is you would hover your mouse over that part of the page that you want to edit, and then you would click. You would click. I don't know why it's not working. There we go. Little finicky. You would click on the little edit pen pencil icon in the upper right hand corner, and what a WebinarJam does is it slides in and gives you the options for what you can edit, right? So maybe you want to say, instead of register now, you may want to say, save your free seat now, and of course, if you want to change different colors, I'm going to copy that, but you could do any color you wanted to and change it up any way you like, okay? We'll put it back to the original settings. And then what's important to remember with WebinarJam here too, and you can't see it on my screen right now, but right here to the bottom of the bottom right is going to be a green button that clicks save. And when you click on it, it saves the work that you were doing. Now, if I had uploaded my video or my picture of me, it would have the picture in here of me right now. But as I didn't, it doesn't. But when you upload your picture, it'll typically put that in there. Now, on this template, what I like about it and why I chose this template is because you can go in here and you can then click edit, and you can put in the different things that you're going to be sharing on the webinar, right? Homes that, the number one mistake that costs homeowners equity. This one mistake is common and can be completely avoided by pricing your home right and escaping the death trap we call a stale listing that invites bottom feeders. So you could go on and edit every single one of these things, every one of these points by clicking edit and being able to edit with whatever it is that you want to put in there, okay? Whatever you're going to be teaching on the webinar. Bold that, and I can do just about anything I like, okay? Now this picture, pretty standard template picture. You can even test using it. The other thing you can always do too is just get rid of it altogether. And then you can add in another one of your own pictures if you like. You can get rid of this entire section here too if you don't want to bother using your picture on there, and it just collapses it. Okay? And then what you do here is once you feel like you're done with your page, you just click here on the upper right hand corner for what? Reset, preview, save, cancel and exit, or save and exit. You go for save and exit. And then once this is selected and you see the green check mark, you don't continue to the next section down here. Instead, you click again confirm. It's very important to click confirm at the end of every step. And then the last thing that WebinarJam has you go through is notification alerts, okay? So, for example, when somebody registers for a webinar, what's really cool about WebinarJam is that it has a built-in feature that will send emails out, just like GoToWebinar would, for example, okay? So right here, what you're gonna do, if you wanna edit the email, this is the welcome message, and then it tells you when it's sent. It's sent immediately upon registration, okay? If you want to edit this email, you simply, as you can probably guess, go to right here and click on the edit button. Now, what's really cool is that it tells you the timeline for when it's being sent, right? And it gives you the subject line, which you can edit if you like, your webinar link for selling your Kenwood home, right? You might add something like that. This is what the email body looks like when it goes out. Now, the thing you got to remember is you do not have to type in any of these and edit them. What it means when you see these hashtags and these words is that the title that you put in for the webinar, it already put it right there. The presenter image that you uploaded, it already put it right here to the right, okay? So these words that you see, you don't have to edit them if you don't want to, okay? The description that we entered, that's already there right now. Date and time, that's actually already gonna work. The button to the webinar is already there, okay? The password, the description, all these different things are already preloaded. The link for the webinar, after they've registered for it, how will they access it, you know? All these things, they're all right here. So you really don't have to edit anything. If you did want to add anything that you thought would be good, then I would do it right here in this area, okay? Or I would leave that, click enter, and add in some other words. Like, don't miss this because for a limited time, we're able to offer access to a home seller package that provides over $1,000 in discounts on home services that home sellers usually need before selling, okay? So maybe you want to put in something like that, all right? For a limited time, homes and services. And I might do something like that just to kind of give it a little more pop, okay? So people pay attention to that. So it'll be just an enticement to remind folks why they should attend, okay? But beyond all that, I really wouldn't do much more to this, okay? It's already a pretty nifty, neat little template, and it's all pre-populated for you, so it saves you a whole heck of a lot of time. And then if you want to send yourself a test email to see what it looks like, you just click send yourself test email. You then enter in your email address, right? Andre at getlistingssummit.com, send test email, and bam, you can go in your inbox and look at it, okay? When you're done setting this all up and you're happy with it, just click save. All right? And then you can also go in and you can add an email for a pre-webinar reminder if you want to send anything out a day before in advance, which is probably good to do. I always do that. And then also a last minute reminder. This is really important. This one email can make a massive difference. It can make a massive difference in having people show up to your webinar, Okay, so I always typically send out an email 15 minutes before webinar starts myself, just to anytime I'm promoting a webinar. And I would definitely do that here if I were you. At this point in time, I wouldn't worry about adding SMS or anything like that just yet, unless you're pretty technically savvy or comfortable with it. Explore away. But for the first time around, for the first few webinars, keep to the very standard lean express options, and stick with that. Okay. And then if you wanted to send out some sort of an email after the webinar, you can click add email as well. But I'm going to go ahead and click confirm. So it shows you that you've set up 2 email notifications and 0 phone, or 2 email notifications and 0 phone notifications. Okay. And then what you do is you click finish. Okay. Now what WebinarJam does very helpfully is that it takes you through basically next steps. Again, they make it very, very, very easy and simple to follow along and set up whatever you need to set up. It explains to you the 2 types of links that you're going to get. The one for the test webinar, which you should always test the webinar to make sure it's working right, and one for the live webinar. It tells you about your dashboard and your links, etc. And then what it does is when you click next, it takes you to the webinar, to my webinars, where you'll have your upcoming webinars. And here is the webinar that we just set up. Now, if you wanted to run a test, you would click on this button right here. If you wanted to see your links, it would be you click on your links. This is the link that you would send out to people to invite them to your webinar. Okay. This right here is the link that you would use to log into the webinar. That you would send to presenters to log into your webinar. Okay. So if you ever had multiple presenters or co-hosts, you would use this link. Most of you won't have that. It's just going to be you sending out invitation link to new leads, people in your sphere of influence, database, and such. Okay. If you need to edit this landing page in any way, you simply go click edit, and it'll take you right back to the menu that you started from the beginning. You would click on express configuration and go through that. If you feel like you want to take a deeper dive, feel free to go through full configuration. Going through full configuration will simply just break this down into more details and more steps. And it'll give you more options for things like integrating third-party tools like an email service provider. So if you're using something like ConvertKit, MailChimp, Aweber, whatever it is, and you want people automatically added from the webinar registration page in WebinarJam to MailChimp or to Aweber or to your CRM or whatever it may be, then you would click on full integration. And then again, it's just like the express configuration. You go through it step by step by step. WebinarJam takes you through it in a sequential order. And then on every step, if you want to add an integration or do something else, again, just like you saw with the express configuration, WebinarJam makes it very simple and easy to understand and very intuitive. And you would simply follow the steps for integrating an email tool if you wanted to do that, or any of the other steps that you would want to go through. But again, it's pretty quick, it's pretty fast, it's pretty painless. Okay. So here's your upcoming webinars, right? You're a presenter too. So again, when it's time to present, you would use this as well. Now, you're probably not going to be sending out to other people, but again, you only send out the presenters login links, okay, if you're gonna have a co-host. Otherwise, these are your private links, okay, for presenting the webinar. And the only webinar that you send out is the one that says, invite people, just the one that says right here, invite people to your webinar. That's the one you send out to people. Presenters login link is for you, okay? And then of course, if you record the webinar, then you'll have a replay recording link as well. You don't have that right now because you haven't recorded anything, but once you've done a webinar and you have the recording, that will automatically populate in here as well, okay? And that is the essentials. That is the essentials on WebinarJam, okay? Now, in future videos, I may shoot an more in-depth dive on setting up a new webinar with full configuration. But again, at this point, I feel like it's probably not needed, and I don't want you to spend a bunch of time watching videos that you don't need to watch. And again, for your first webinar, I strongly encourage you to go through Express configuration and just get the webinar up. And what's great about the WebinarJam tool is that, again, it gives you the landing page tool, it gives the ability to put up a nice landing page, it gives you the ability to host a webinar, and to send out the reminder emails post opt-in, but pre-webinar to remind people to come to the webinar. Okay, and then afterwards, once you've done your first webinar, your second webinar, etc., you get to check out your actual analytics, right? So you get to see, what actually happened, etc. Now, we haven't hosted this webinar. There's no analytics, but afterwards, you get to dive deep into, how many registrants versus attendees, how much traffic did you get to the landing page, what happened inside your webinar, so many little things you can play around with in here, okay? But for the moment, again, just to recap, watch Quick Start, because Quick Start's going to give you some important tips, and it'll show you how to take advantage of support. And then you're going to go to New Webinar. You're going to create your new webinar with Express configuration, okay? And then you're going to have your first webinar scheduled. And once your first webinar is scheduled, then you're going to go grab that link right here, and you're going to put in an email, and you're going to send out to your database, your sphere of influence, or however you're choosing, whatever engagement strategy you're choosing to use, that's what you will use. But this is the long and short of WebinarJam, and what I strongly encourage you to do right now is just go through and quickly set up your first webinar, because again, it says ready in less than 60 seconds, but even if you take a long time, it can take you less than 5 minutes, and you will literally have a nice landing page set up, ready to take emails, with a landing page, with a webinar scheduled that you can host in here, and you'll have the follow-up emails all scheduled as well. And that is how quick, fast, and easy this tool is to use.